meantime, Sean, UFC 225 right around the corner, brother. And it's headlined by these two guys right here. Whitaker, Romero. Both probably some of the most ferocious strikers that is in that division. Robert Whitaker suffered a staph infection. This fight didn't go down last time like it should have. So Romero got a shot against Luke Rockhold to claim an interim title. That dude failed to make weight. So even though he made out with Luke Rockhold after he won, that's about as
makeout session here?
Right. That's about as close as he's got to a title, is to claim Luke Rockhold as his title.
You want to know what's interesting? I should have labeled this show uncomfortable because I'm going to make you uncomfortable. And,
why do you have to do that?
And what you're talking about is like when he made out with Luke Rockhold after he knocked him out in the last fight.
Well, he kissed him.
Made people uncomfortable. Well, the stylistic matchup between Whitaker and Romero is that Romero likes to make people uncomfortable.
Yeah, he does.
He is overly aggressive. He blitzes quick. He comes at you full tilt. Now, in the first fight between these two guys, it went to decision, and in which you saw Whitaker pulling out the win. Now, you look at this one and you say, oh, well, are we going to have deja vu? Are we going to see the same fight? Well, if you're Yoel Romero, he gassed out after the second round.
Right.
Whitaker weathered the storm for the first 2 rounds. Because if we all remember, Whitaker was getting pummeled. Like, it was hard for him to weather the storm. But he did. He survived. He game planned. He strategized. Came back. Stole the later rounds. If Yoel Romero wants to win this fight, he's got to win it in the first 2 rounds. If you look at Whitaker, how healthy is he? Are his legs fine? Is he ready to go? Is the rust there? There's a lot of questions to go in with Whitaker. I get Whitaker is one of the most premier strikers going in the division today. But at the end of the day, what are you going to get? You know what you're going to get with Romero. Just a little bit extra, apparently.
Right.
So you look at this, it's a rematch. The odds for this fight have been interesting to watch. Over at Bovada.lv, Romero is at plus 190. Whitaker is at minus 240. So they're heavily favoring the matchup of Whitaker. I'm not sure that the discrepancy should be so great. I believe it should be a little bit more even. Like when we get to
but I guess because we're talking about whether or not Romero is going to actually make weight, though.
That's the thing. So you've got a lot of moving parts. And on paper, you say, well, Whitaker, according to odds, is going to win. But I have a hard time saying that Whitaker is going to run away with this one. My pick to win is Romero. I'm not going to give a prediction how he's going to win, because I can't seem to predict that worth anything. But I can tell you who's going to win. Last week on my predictions, I was 3 for 4 for UFC.
Yeah, which wasn't bad.
So I did pretty good. Just the outcome predictions, I didn't do well. So I'm just going to stick to straight home predictions. Yoel Romero, plus 190. My bet's on him. I believe he's going to run away with this fight. I think he's going to end up being the new champion. I believe that this fight is not for the interim title.
Nope.
This title is for the real middleweight championship. So I believe Yoel Romero, Soldier of God, is going to end up walking away with the title for the first time in quite a while. And fight fans are either going to like it or they're not. He's not going to sell pay-per-views like Whitaker. So Yoel Romero is going to have to finish the fight in the first 2 rounds in order to have any type of success going forward. So it's interesting. That's how I see that fight going. The other one, that this card is loaded. I couldn't believe how loaded this card is. And it's like, what made you load up 225 and say, this is the going home show? It's like when you watch the Royal Rumble for WWE, and they're saying this is your go-home show week before it gets to WrestleMania. Let's throw all your chips into one basket and say, you know what, we're going to just throw the whole kit and caboodle at you. Because the co-main event in this one is Rafael Dos Anjos versus everybody's newest bad boy, Colby Covington, the king of talk.
Can we just stop ripping off people's shtick because he's trying to become like he's a Chael Sonnen,
Or Conor McGregor,
right?
but just a little bit of a lesser.
Dude,
See,
and every time I see Colby, all I think of him is in TNA Impact with his ATT team and Dan Lambert and watching him get thrown around like a rag doll. That's all I remember him. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's a UFC fighter. I was like, well, that's disheartening. Because all I know him from is Impact days. He's pretty much, to me, a Impact wrestler. That's about what I know him as. Now I know him as a somewhat decent fighter.
And you just know of Colby Covington for spitting on Brazilians, most notably getting into an argument with, what's his name? Fabricio Verdun. And then threatening to hit somebody with a boomerang or something like that. Don't exactly remember the whole thing, but that's how he got here. And then after Dos Anjos said, yo, step up to the plate. I'll go ahead and beat up this guy. I'll beat up this guy for all of Brazil. Like, you pissed off all of Brazil. You pissed off Dos Anjos, who has one of the nastiest leg kicks in the game. And quite frankly, since moving up to welterweight, he's really, quite frankly, pretty scary. I mean, the guy is legit at welterweight. He's 3-0 since moving up. He's beaten Robbie Lawler, so he's been in brawls before. But when you look at Colby Covington, his notoriety, his name to fame outside of trash-talking Brazil is the fact that he beat an aging Damian Maia, who is only a really good grappler and not a striker. And other than that, he's never fought anybody else in the top 10 until now. And the guy that steps up to put him in his place is Rafael Dos Anjos. It's like when we go back and we watch the Nate Diaz fight versus Dos Anjos, where basically Dos Anjos almost murdered Nate Diaz in the octagon. Y'all remember that one, right? So true. This is what we may very well see here with Colby Covington is, hey, Nate Diaz, version 2.0, the poor man's excuse, may be seen buried in a corner with a Brazilian flag over him because Dos Anjos is going to do him in like he was a sideshow. But so you look at this, and the odds from Bovada.lv had the Whitaker and Romero fight completely
all over the place.
But they had Dos Anjos and Covington almost equal. What?
Because you're looking at Rafael Dos Anjos as being I wouldn't say a shell of himself, but he's pretty close. And if he loses to Colby, I mean, that almost solidifies that his whole entire career that he's built all the way up until here will fall on deaf ears. Because where do you go if you're Rafael Dos Anjos? Where do you go? Because at this point of his career, he needs this win to get back in the title contention. Or Colby's just going to run right up through the ranks because he's talking so much.
But when you look at the odds, negative 120 for Dos Anjos, negative 110 for Covington. Covington is not a great striker.
Nope.
He's a pretty good wrestler. So he's going to probably look to get the fight to the ground and execute in that form. But you look at the background and pedigree of Dos Anjos, there's just too much for him not to win this fight. I believe you're going to see him toying around with him for the first round. I'll be surprised if he knocks him out in the first round. He may very well. Again, I can't get the image. I have to see this going the full, 5 rounds, 3 rounds?
Yep.
In this fight. And you're going to see a bloody beaten Covington and realize, I don't want to talk bad about Brazilians. Especially when I got to fight a guy in the top 5. and is well on his way to a welterweight title shot. Because if he wins this, yeah, it's a minor setback in my eyes because he's 3-0 in welterweight. So it's a minor setback. But he re-gauges, figures out who he fights next. He wins one, he's back into the title hunt. Either way, he's not out of the title hunt. But if he goes right through Covington, that's over. He will get the next title shot in the welterweight, and it'll be interesting to see that outcome. But I have Dos Anjos at -120 walking away with the W.
Outside, but that be just because I don't want to see Colby Covington win. I want to see him get humbled a little bit. This guy keeps talking his way up the charts, and we need to just knock him down a pedestal.
You know, I read and heard about that when they were saying that about Megan Anderson. Everybody's like, everything I was reading is like, do you know who Megan Anderson is? Because if not, you should know who Megan Anderson is. Well, anybody that's in this field knows who Megan Anderson is because the featherweight division is so drastically weak.
But isn't it interesting, though, that we're talking about Megan Anderson, right? She's facing Holly Holm, and both of them are on the prelim card, okay? Both of them. They're not on the main card. Yet CM Punk is on the main card. Now, I get it. It's all about money. I get it, right? CM Punk's going to sell the pay-per-view because everybody wants to see him. Is he going to go 0 for 2 and be done with the UFC? Or is he actually going to get his first W? Now, I don't think there's a harder worker in the business right now to prove people wrong than CM Punk, but it is an uphill battle. He did lose his first fight. He did look really bad. But you look at this, it's almost like a teeter-totter effect because UFC 225, basically didn't had to flip a coin to see who's going to be on the main card and who wasn't going to be on the main card.
That's exactly it. And everybody's like, well, Phil Brooks and Mike Jackson, really? On the main card, bringing it in? You're right. Sells pay-per-views. That's what everybody's going to love. That's what everybody's going to be interested to see because they want to see Phil Brooks, if he's available, if he's actually taken the year off again and learned more craft to his game and is going to compete at a much higher level. So why would you put that on prelims? Why would you put that on free TV? It's smart business by the UFC who needs revenue.
It is, and if you want to talk about smart business, name the last time you had a number 1 ranked fighter versus a number 5 ranked fighter not crack the prelims, not crack the main card, and is relegated to a cell phone app or a computer app. Go ahead, I'll wait. Because that's exactly what happened to Sergio Pettis and Joseph Benavidez. Number 1 ranked fighter, a 6-fight win streak, and he's relegated to Fight Pass? To an app that you have to buy? That nobody cares about? See ESPN Stream Plus? We'll get to that a little bit later. But man, Benavidez, 6 fights, 16 UFC fight cards. Okay? Trying to check out this number. 16. How many flyweights have been on the main card?
0?
Yep.
Ouch.
So, is this personal, or is this telling you something about the flyweight division?
Again,
you talk about selling pay-per-views, you talk about selling a card, and I'm looking like Benavidez is taking this very personal, but at the same time, you taking this very personal. How about we look at the other flyweights and say, well, what have y'all done to sell a pay-per-view?
And that's the thing we've always said about the flyweights.
Who's the worst selling pay-per-view person out there in the
UFC.
world, in the UFC? Go ahead. Who?
DJ, Demetrius Johnson.
And he's a world freaking champ.
Who's been undefeated for the last 2 years?
But you can't be somebody that you're not.
At some point, you either got to learn how to speak and put yourself out there to the masses, and if you don't, then unfortunately you're going to be relegated to the Fight Pass, I guess. It's just like we talked about it 2 weeks ago about Desmond Green. Why is this guy not fighting on the main card? Why is this guy still fighting on prelims? This guy showed again why he has won 20-plus fights. So for Benavidez and Pettis to be relegated to a fight pass, it doesn't make any sense to me because while they may not sell pay-per-views, their quality of fights should
be enough.
Should put them on a pay-per-view card.
Absolutely.
Not the main event, but on a pay-per-view card.
Yeah, man.
You mentioned it earlier.
How do you go to your friends, right? Hey, I'm fighting for the UFC. I have a fight coming up. Oh, cool. Is it on pay-per-view? No. Is it on Fox? No. Wait, you're on the UFC? Then where are you fighting at? I'm fighting on Fight Pass. What's that? Oh, it's an app where you can download and watch it. Oh, okay, good luck.
How much does it cost?
Right?
No, I'm good.
Nope, I'm good.
I'm not going to pay for that.
Dude, that's like telling these amateur fighters out here in California, hey, dude, go sell some tickets. Okay, but you're a pro. You're a UFC fighter. Why the heck do you have to sell a fight pass? To make money. How's that right to these guys that are ranked number 1 and number 5 in the world in their own division? Oh, because they don't sell. That's cool. So the kids out here that amateur fights, they don't sell tickets. They don't bring in the draw. They get pushed back. So basically, you're saying that's okay in the pros too. I just don't get how you as a face, right? It is exactly the monopoly. You have the money, I get it. You have the understanding, I get it. But you can't take somebody that is CM Punk's caliber because he's from Chicago and throw him into the main card and basically bury every other person.
CM does not mean Chicago made. It means chick magnet. Just saying.
What? No! We're not going there. He already has AJ Lee. That's enough to say about that.
I know, but when you're talking about people were talking about him being in Chicago and like, oh, CM means Chicago made. No, it means chick magnet. Yep. He was in a tag team and he got all the ladies, so they named him Chick Magnet. CM Punk.
But another issue that I have with this card too is that...
But wait.
What?
So you got Phil Brooks versus Mike Jackson.
Yes.
This is my long shot prediction. My long shot prediction.
Are you going Chick Magnet?
CM Punk. He's at a plus 175. Jackson is at a whopping negative 225. Long shot.
I don't even know how that happens.
So, I'm going CM Punk on this one. Phil Brooks
probably went like, dude, I don't know who that guy is, but
yeah,
I know Phil.
Bovada.lv has CM Punk at plus 175. Jackson at negative 225. I've got CM Punk adding his first W to this, even though Mike Jackson will have a hairy canary if he loses this fight in the center of the octagon if it goes a full distance.
You know what I would love to see? Phil Brooks slap on a finisher and end it.
What, hit the go to sleep?
Yes!
Go to sleep.
How cool would that be? His first win is in Chicago,
and he pulls
out a wrestling move, puts him on his shoulders, drops him and hits him with a knee to the face.
Or just the fact that he hits him with a rear naked choke and puts him to sleep.
Right.
Hey, you did put him to sleep.
Take a dirt nap. Chicago.
But this one will either put the fight fans to sleep or not put the fight fans to sleep. Holly Holm versus Megan Anderson.
Holly Holm loves being at 135, so this should be interesting.
But yet she wants to drop down in weight.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like she's more of a bantamweight than a featherweight. Well, if you lose to Megan Anderson, you may have no choice but to go back down to bantamweight. But if you don't know who Megan Anderson is, she's a former Invicta FC featherweight champion.
I like this match.
A legitimate featherweight. Yes, I know she doesn't have a lot of wins underneath her belt. But however, she has dropped her last 4 opponents. She has the striking power to knock out Holly Holm. But whether you get the Holly Holm that will engage
or the Holly Holm that's back to the point boxing because she doesn't want to lose.
And that's the thing. Which Holly Holm are you going to see
The one that doesn't want to lose, or the one that wants to make a statement that those other losses that she has suffered was just that of a mirage, and she's there to slam the gate shut and say that she's back. I mean, this is a tale of two tapes. You know, they're virtually identical at some point, but Megan Anderson, I think she keeps her role going, and see, Holly Holm might be on the outside looking in.
See, I originally picked Holly Holm, and I'm thinking here, Holly Holm. Then I look at Megan Anderson, and I say, well, she hasn't fought in 18 months. She's less than 10 pro fights.
Yep.
She's finally in the UFC. Will the lights of the UFC be too much for her?
Right.
That's the biggest question that I think she has head on her shoulders. And the fact is that everybody's been talking about Megan Anderson versus Cyborg for over a year. How much is that on her head? Is she mentally clear and mentally ready to compete against a woman like Holly Holm? Granted, she's not been relevant in the last several fights. Hasn't been the old Holly Holm. This is that fight that can shift and get Holly Holm back to where many people think she can be, and that is a title contender. So while I was battling it and going, well, you know what? Part of me says Megan Anderson, part of me says Holly Holm. I can't look past Holly Holm's pedigree. You look at Bovada.lv and their odds. Holm is a negative 230. Anderson's a plus 180. My prediction is that I'm going to see a decision with Holly Holm winning. She's going to go back to what got her to the dance.
Yeah, I could buy that.
Going to point box, keep her distance, use her jab, not let Megan Anderson get close, and use the power. Megan Anderson, if she wants to win this fight, she's got to get inside, make it aggressive, make it ugly. Because that's how Holly Holm has lost her last two fights. So you look at it, and it's like, I'm still going Holly Holm. Holly Holm needs this fight more than Megan Anderson needs this fight.
Absolutely she does. Absolutely she does.
Megan Anderson
or she gets released.
Yeah. Megan Anderson goes to 0-1, big whoop. She's a featherweight. They'll regurgitate, rinse and repeat. But if you're Holly Holm, you lose. You don't essentially get released because you're Holly Holm, but you really move down the bottom of the barrel. And then you really got to revisit yourself.
Yeah, you just keep sliding. And that's a very disheartening thing to see that Holly Holm, once a champion, falling by the wayside, just like Rashad Evans, dude. He takes on Anthony Smith, and poor guy hasn't seen a victory in the last 4 years. So we're literally seeing two fighters at crossroads in their careers that a loss can be just absolutely devastating for the both of them.
Well, you look at that's the whole play out of the bottom card. When you get in the prelims, the fall of Alistair Overeem.
Oh, right. The fall of Rashad Evans, the fall of Holly Holm.
Andre Arlovsky, Mr. Jekyll and Hyde is on the card. Which one do you get? Do you get the pit bull, or do you get the guy that shows up when he wants to show up? Then you've got Claudia Gadelha versus Carla Esparza. This could be a very good competitive fight with a legitimate wrestler and Carla. But then you look at Claudia, well, is Claudia ready and willing to come back and get another title shot against Rose Namajunas? Because if she wins, she catapults back up into a title contending fight again. So do we see changing the guard, falling flat? There's so many questions that with this loaded card of what ifs, of like, whoa, who's fighting? Who do we got going on? That's what's going on that we have to watch for coming up on UFC 225.
But what we need to watch is it's going down in Vegas. Jeff Horn versus Terrence Crawford. Yeah. Jeff Horn, Terrence Crawford is up next. We're going to go to a break. Come out with that. Yes, hashtag Crawford Horn. It's going down June 9th. We're the New Cross Brothers, The Warriors Den, IELiveTV.com. Your boys on Facebook, Sean and Tristan Do Cross Brothers. We'll be right back with some boxing.